Welcome to Community Crypto on CoinDesk TV. I'm your host, Isaiah Jackson, and this week we are discussing the booming Bitcoin mining industry, its progress toward using green and innovative energy, and the Bitcoin mining community. I'm joined now by Peter Wall, CEO of Argo Blockchain, and Tanya Woods, General Counsel and EVP of Regulatory Affairs for Hut 8. And both of our guests are members of the North American Bitcoin Mining Council. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks.
Hey, Isaiah. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. Glad to have you both. And first, I want to kick it off with you, Peter. Let us know a little bit about the Argo blockchain and some of the work you have done in the industry.
Cool. All right. Well, first, I apologize, Isaiah. I'm actually at the airport in Lubbock in Texas, where we're setting up a new mining facility in Dickens County. And so just kind of running between places and spaces. So if you see anyone walking by in the background, that's what's going on. So Argo is a publicly traded cryptocurrency miner, originally listed in London, now also traded on the NASDAQ. We have about over one exahash of mining capacity right now, mining in North America. As I said, we're setting up a big facility in West Texas, which will be 200 megawatts coming online next year. That's the plan. And the big reason why we're here in Texas is because of renewable power. There's an enormous amount of renewable power that's been built out here in the last few years, in the last 10 years. There's more renewable power that's coming. It's been amazing driving around and spending time in rural West Texas for the last few days. You see these big turbines driving by on the highway all the time with massive propellers on the back. And that's all because there's more and more renewables that are coming online, and we're tapping into that energy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you still being able to join us, Peter. You're in the airport and I got a messed up eye, but the show must go on, right? That's why I'm wearing glasses right now. But Tanya, I wanted to pose the same question to you. Tell us a little bit about Hut 8 and some of the things you're doing in the industry as well.
Yeah, happy to. And I do hope your eye gets better. And it's nice to see you, Peter. So Hut 8 is North America's largest innovation-focused digital asset mining pioneer. We've been at this game since 2018, and we are very proud to hold the largest amount of self-mined Bitcoin on our balance sheet, close to 5,000 Bitcoin as of September 30th. We announced this a few days ago, so 4,724. Held in reserve. We're very proud to be located in Alberta. So our operations, we have 109 megawatts of power in Alberta, and very actively growing. We are listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange as well as the NASDAQ, and very active on the sustainability front, hoping that we can work with friends like Peter and others in our space to really change the narrative and shake things up a little bit.
So what is the current overall size of the Bitcoin mining industry? You all said you were the largest, but what is the overall size and how much has it grown in the last 5 years?
Oh my gosh, we have to turn to Peter if he knows. I should know this, but I honestly couldn't tell you the actual massive amounts and growth stats. I can tell you that we've grown significantly in the last 5 years, and certainly the Bitcoin marketplace and Bitcoin awareness has also grown significantly in the last 5 years. Peter, what can you do to add this one in for me?
Oh yeah, Peter?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Isaiah, in terms of the overall mining capacity right now of the network hash rate, it's somewhere around 150 exahash. And you think about companies like us, we have 1 exahash. Hut 8 has a little bit more, I think 1.5 around right now. And so, that's somewhere between 0.5% and 1% of the network. That has grown significantly, obviously, in the last 5 years. I mean, when we first started mining as a company back in 2018, 5 megawatts of power, 10 megawatts of power was a lot of power. And now you're looking at facilities that are setting up that are, in the hundreds of megawatts, and even looking at like a gigawatt of power. So things have grown really fast across the industry.
Oh, yeah. And I know that a lot of people, they know about Bitcoin mining, but they're not really in tune with the companies that are involved. And I'm glad to have you too, because you can give some better insight. I always get this question. What happened with China? What's going on with China? Are they banning Bitcoin? Are they banning Bitcoin mining? Is it over? Has the experiment failed? So I want to get both of you all's insight. Start with you, Tanya. What impact do you think China's ban on mining had on your business and the industry as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, fantastic question, and I'm sure Peter and I could both go on for days about that. But in truth, look, China's geopolitical situation is incredibly interesting. It's interesting to see how their statements and decisions impact the market. But equally interesting is how quickly the market bounces back. The price of Bitcoin may fluctuate downward when China makes statements around banning Bitcoin mining or banning Bitcoin. But we've seen, I think, a full bounce back from their last set of statements. From a North American perspective, we are in North America. Obviously, we operate here. I think there's a tremendous opportunity for North American miners. There hasn't really been a waning interest in Bitcoin. It's been increasing steadily, albeit volatile. It has been increasing steadily over time. And I do think that the statements made from China just continue to open up doors and opportunities for us over here in North America. So I'm not really fussed by it. It would be great if there was more of a sentiment of camaraderie, certainly, but I do think one shift from there creates opportunity positively over here. So I don't know, Peter, I'd be curious what you were thinking.
Yeah. So Peter, how do you think the China ban affects the industry?
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of what Tanya said. I mean, if you think about, looking back at the start of this year and the first quarter of this year, there was more and more hash power coming online around the world. And then all of a sudden, the Chinese government said, we don't want Bitcoin mining to take place here anymore. That caused a massive drop in network hash rate. But as Tanya said, the system was able to absorb it. The network was able to continue to be strong and secure. And that's a real win for Bitcoin. It shows that, it truly is a decentralized network. And that's a good thing, obviously, for both security and for kind of the long-term viability of the whole project. Is a big step. And then what it means for North American miners, I think primarily it means that infrastructure in North America, like the kind that we're building out here in West Texas, has become more scarce and has become more valuable because it's not easy to spin up a 200 megawatt or a 400 megawatt or an 800 megawatt data center mining facility. These things take time. There's a ton of work that has to be done before you even kind of break ground. So all of those resources, all of that power that's in North America that's now, being used towards cryptocurrency mining is a really good thing for North America. We're seeing lots of jobs and lots of innovation taking place here, which otherwise might have taken place in other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I love that you all said that, stating that it's actually good for us that they banned it, because I tell people all the time, hey, if China bans it, it's probably a pretty good product. They've banned Google, Facebook, they've banned everything. Now we're to Bitcoin, but it looks like we're a big deal now. But yes, so Peter, I wanted to ask you. This is my favorite question to ask anybody in the mining industry because we've had such an outcry. I've been in the industry about 8 years. To me, this is an old argument, but I love to hear the response from big mining companies. What is your response to the claims that most or some Bitcoin mining is harmful to the environment, Peter?
Yeah, look, I think there's no doubt that Bitcoin mining uses energy. I mean, that's what makes it so secure. That's the proof of work mechanism, consensus mechanism is what provides, the kind of security to the ledger that we expect as Bitcoin users. I think, for a company like us, we believe that moving forward, more and more, as much as possible of the Bitcoin mining that's taking place needs to be done with renewable power. And if you look at the amount of renewable energy that's used in Bitcoin mining compared to other industries, it's significantly higher. Well over 50% of the Bitcoin that's being mined right now is done using renewable power. For us, it's much higher than that. We're aiming to be 100% renewable in the future. We're already completely carbon neutral, even what they call climate positive, which means we've offset all of our emissions and then even gone beyond that. So I think there's a large movement towards making sure that this industry is sustainable and acting in a sustainable way. We've certainly been leaders in that part of the space. Hut 8's been active as well in that part of the world but that part of the industry. So I think it's been really positive, and I think the fact is that Bitcoin mining is going to take place no matter what. It's not going away, as we saw in China when it gets banned in one place, it'll pop up somewhere else. So let's do it in North America. Let's use renewable power, and let's be a forward-thinking type of industry.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And Tanya, same thing to you. Is HUD 8 looking at going 100% renewable? And if so, what's the timeline on that being possible?
Yeah, we haven't made any statements publicly on that yet, and you would appreciate being a public company. We've got to be mindful what we claim. However, I can tell you that certainly since I arrived and the new management team came into place, this has been a top of mind priority for everybody. And it's something that we all take a great amount of pride in. At the operations level, we're thinking about sustainability, neutrality, how to be a good environmental steward from a top down and bottom up approach. Everything from, having reusable filters on site, LED lights, totally electric vehicles. It's even at the most granular levels that we're thinking about this. Of course, we're also thinking about carbon credits and how else we can offset our footprint. It never ends. We're very excited, truthfully, about the kind of scrutiny and pressure. It's an invitation to just be better, do better, and actually lead. Because if not us, then who? And, to run away from pressure or scrutiny doesn't solve the real problem that we're looking at. But it does, it does draw, I think every miner probably would come to this place at some point if they haven't already. It draws out many larger questions because we know the amount of power that we actually consume as an industry. And it pales in comparison to other big tech. It pales in comparison. I think one of our CEO's favorite comparisons is Christmas lights. It pales in comparison to so many other uses. And yet we're getting the scrutiny. And for someone, like myself, who's been in the industry a while, where is that scrutiny really coming from? And why is it happening? Is it coming because we threaten traditional systems? Is it coming because there's a lack of education? Is it coming because there's a lack of dialogue? I think probably a little bit of all of those things and other reasons why we get the scrutiny. But again, I think taking it on and saying, okay, cool, like you feel that way about us now, fine. But how about we innovate forward for everybody's benefit and we'll just prove you wrong. And over time, you'll see we're going to get more efficient. We're going to have better compute power. And we are going to actually be leaders in the world as far as the digital economy goes when it comes to sustainability narrative. So I get pumped when I get these kind of bits of pressure and criticism. I love them.
Oh yeah, me too. I get pumped too. That's why I said that's my favorite question to ask. And you gotta think, people who are listening, Christmas lights, the first decentralized currency in the history of mankind. That's not even a debate as far as energy use. So I just wanted to make sure we nailed that down. But Peter, I wanted to ask you, what was going through your mind when you heard that El Salvador started volcanic mining last week? What was the thought process there? Do you think it can work?
Look, I saw some of those images. I think it's cool. I think it's really interesting. Geothermal power is for real. Obviously, it's another form of renewable power that is exciting and that is gone through a lot of innovation in the last little while. So I think it's great. More power to them. And I think the more that mining is spread around the world, and it adds to the security of the network and the decentralization of the network.
Oh yeah, and Tanya, what did you think when you heard about that? President Bukele decided to push forward with volcano mining.
Yeah, again, very similar reactions to Peter for sure. My house is geothermally I plumbed, I guess you might say, but living in Ottawa, it's cold here, and we actually really appreciate harnessing various elements of existing energy uses to keep ourselves warm or to do things. So I was pretty excited that, why not? Like, technological innovation and green innovation is just at such an incredible moment right now that we really should be experimenting boldly. And I think that's exactly what they signaled they were intending to do. So really excited about it.
Oh man, this is an amazing time. We have volcanoes printing money. Do people not understand how innovative this is? This is crazy times, and people don't even understand what's happening. But love to see it, and I also love the fact that you all are both members of the Bitcoin Mining Council. And has the council actually reached out to Congress regarding regulatory concerns, such as, for example, the crypto provision in the new infrastructure bill? Have you all reached out about that? Has that been a discussion?
Peter, why don't you kick it off, and then I can share a little bit of what we've been doing.
Yeah, I think that the main kind of goals of the council right now are to continue to gather people together. That's been a big part of, of the work it's still very new and gathering folks together. And then secondly, to, put out put out updates to the world, to the market, about the usage of power and how much power is being used and how that compares. A lot of the things we were just talking about. In terms of outreach that's been done with various stakeholders and legislators. I think we'll leave that discussion to a future time. I think it's early. It's a little too early to kind of get into those details. But the main goal was first to, as in the words of Michael Saylor, be organized, because just because we're decentralized doesn't mean we have to be disorganized.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, love that quote. And Tanya, as well, what do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. I was the head of this role. I was the founder of Canada's first blockchain trade association, and so did a tremendous amount of lobbying, and still very connected with the various lobbying groups in Washington and globally, and was called upon by CoinDesk when we first saw a lot of the rumblings around the infrastructure bill coming through, and immediately understood the problem and the various problems that have led up to the fact that, clearly miners are not brokers, which was at the core of the bigger issue here, which was, how is the IRS going to tax things? But, I tell you what, there are a few big moments for me, and certainly with the groups that we interact with in Washington and globally who have been lobbying very actively, that caused a moment for celebration and pause. Number one, it got to this level. I mean, the fact that our conversations have got to this level in the Senate, in the process, in the U.S. government, in discussion in the national newspapers. I mean, phenomenal. We've hit a tipping point. That was my first joy. General optimist, very, very joyful. The second thing was, wow, in the decade that we've been working, trying to educate people, we haven't done a great job. They don't get it yet. And they really don't get it in a fundamental way. So the fact that we could educate so quickly, that industry players came together so fast, and we were able to see really informational and insightful and useful statements made in the colloquy, to carve out miners, to say, look, it's not our intention to include miners, was fantastic. And that just showed the tremendous lobby effort when the community works together. And there was a lot of co-working and collaboration to achieve that moment. So are we there yet? No. Is there still a lot of work to do? Yes. In Canada, where I sit up in Ottawa, I was called upon, within a week by our federal government representative saying, what do you guys think? And I said, look, don't make the same mistakes, take the lessons learned, but take a moment of pause, because you need to acknowledge what's happening right now. This is a thing, and this is moving forward. So that was kind of our work.
Yep. And when it comes to regulatory bodies, they take a lot of time to come up with, the things that they want to enforce. And companies, you're trying to make money, you're trying to move forward, you're trying to be innovative. You can't just stop and wait for them. So I definitely understand that. And that infrastructure bill, I mean, come on, man. They're trying to make my grandmother a broker the same as a big mining company. Come on, man. Let's calm it down a bit. I would much rather see innovation. But in a perfect world, I think proof of work will be here forever. But we have had other protocols introduce proof of stake. So, Peter, do you think there would ever be a day where Bitcoin may move to proof of stake? And would that affect your business as well?
So I don't know if you asked that to me. I'm losing you guys, and everything's breaking up, so I can't really hear.
No problem. Yep. I wanted to ask, do you think in a proof of work Bitcoin protocol that one day we would change to proof of stake, and how would it affect your company if that were to happen? And if Peter can't get it, Tanya, you can jump in there and answer that for us. What do you think would happen with HUD 8 if we would switch? Or do you think that would ever happen?
Look, I mean, remains to be seen. I am not an oracle, although I wish I were in so many instances in this ecosystem. It remains to be seen. I certainly appreciate the intention of the community to be a better environmental steward, to stay innovative and at the edge. But Bitcoin really wasn't conceptualized in that way. That doesn't mean innovation and change can't happen. I don't know what the trajectory would be for it. With regards to our company, I mean, we are mining Ethereum. We are also mining Bitcoin. So, I think you have to, as a company, stay on your game and aware of what is possible and what is real, and where the market opportunities present themselves, you need to be ready to strike for them. And so I'm really proud of how HUD 8 has navigated, especially this year. This has been a pretty pivotal year for the company. And they've definitely started to flex their, compute muscles, showing that they are, diversified and able to do different tasks, not just Bitcoin mining. So I think you know, I'm a big better on my company. I think we'd be great.
Absolutely. And Peter, do you think proof of stake would hurt your business? I mean, again, you could diversify. Do you think proof of stake would hurt or help?
Yeah, sorry, I think the connection's come back now. Look, I think that, you know, we're in this for the long haul. I think there's going to be various consensus mechanisms that gain in momentum over time. Obviously, we don't think Bitcoin's going away. You know, Bitcoin mining is going away anytime soon, and that's why we're so invested in it. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other projects out there that have value, that are going to be innovative in other consensus mechanisms, and you know, we're open to them. So I think it's going to add to our business, not take away from our business, because we're also, you know, as a company, looking at those and leaning into them.
Oh yeah, good to be diversified, and definitely good to look towards the future. And one of the things about the future that was discussed, the infamous Bitcoin Mining Council meeting with Michael Saylor and Elon Musk. I wanted to get some insight into that meeting, and so what were some of the things that were discussed? Also, what were some of the things that you all looked to accomplish? And I'll start with you, Tanya, in that meeting.
You know, I actually didn't attend that meeting. I'm going to pass it immediately to Peter because I don't want to represent something that I wasn't really a part of. So Peter, over to you.
Oh yeah.
Sure. Yeah, look, I think you know, going back to what I said earlier about the Bitcoin Mining Council, I think the goal of that conversation was to bring people together, to start to have conversations about how, you know, how people are talking about our industry, how we can talk about our industry, where there's opportunities to be organized and where there's opportunities to be, you know, competitors and peers. It's a small space. There's not that many publicly traded miners in North America. So it's important for us to have a sense of, you know, what all of us are doing, and to have some amount of communication. And in terms of, you know, Elon's role in that, it was really just to have him have a chance to meet us and to talk about, you know, the role that energy plays in Bitcoin mining and cryptocurrency mining.
Oh yeah. So it's not true Elon was trying to push Doge on you guys. He wasn't trying to get you guys to mine Dogecoin. But because I know some people were trying to push that out there, but yeah, definitely want to have that collaboration, and you definitely want to keep the industry decentralized. But one of the things I want to know, Tanya, is how do we balance the need for collaboration while still remaining decentralized?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to sort of where Peter started our chat. I mean, you can be decentralized and be organized and collaborate. There's really no reason those two things need to live apart from each other. I think dialogue is essential. I mean, we're ultimately a community of people that share a lot of common values. We prioritize a lot of the same things. We're not all the same. We're different. We're diverse, but we are also very inclusive and collaborative. So, you know, making sure that we are helping each other out as we spot trends in the ecosystem, as we catch new data, you know, that kind of info sharing and discussion is important. And then, of course, coming together where we have a regulatory challenge or where there's an opportunity to make a big step forward because we're together. We just have to keep our pulse on those opportunities because they're there all the time. But you know, it is, everybody's busy, everybody's heads down. This is an incredibly active space right now. But you know, the dialogue piece is really important, and we do stay in touch with a lot of our friends in the industry on a near daily basis. So.
Yep, and collaboration is definitely needed. You know, the fist is stronger than any single finger, so that collaboration is great. And I wanted to ask you, Peter. It's been a great interview. Love that you guys were able to come on. I'll end it here. So for both, I'll start with Peter though. Where do you think the Bitcoin mining industry will be in the next decade, as far as growth and, you know?
Yeah, look, I think it's about scale and efficiency and renewable power. So I think we're going to continue to see more and more scale, particularly in North America. You know, you're going to see the first gigawatt facility at some point pretty soon, probably come online. And I think machines are getting more efficient. Mining systems are getting more efficient. You know, we're doing immersion mining at a large scale. That brings things to another level of efficiency. And then obviously renewable power is playing a bigger and bigger role. So, you know, literally an hour ago, I was standing in a field of windmills looking at this renewable power being generated out of wind, and it was amazing. It's remarkable. And, to have this futuristic technology of these windmills generating this futuristic technology of Bitcoin, it's a pretty awesome combination, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Likewise, brother. And Tanya, same to you.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything Peter said. And I'll just layer in, I do think that the industry will demonstrate its leadership in indirect, not only direct ways. I think we're going to inspire other sectors and other industries to do their work differently, to take into account the compute and the innovation and the ways that we're using them that's more sustainable and targeting renewables, and just how we're innovating with almost, blindfolds on to some extent. I think what we're doing is going to find a lot of cross-purpose use in many other ways. I also wouldn't be surprised to start to see a lot of the major players like the Amazons, the Googles, the Facebooks, etc., start to take some steps more publicly into the space, diversifying what they're doing as they appreciate more and more and more what it is that we're doing and what that's going to mean for their businesses as well. So those are some of my predictions, but Bitcoin's still part of that story 10 years down. I really don't see it going anywhere.
Absolutely. Yes. Love to hear it. Like I said before, love this industry simply because great minds like yourselves. And I want to ask you guys if I can come to one of the facilities one day just to tour. So I can look around. I'll hold you to it. Absolutely. But I appreciate you guys coming on today. Thank you for all the insight into the Bitcoin mining industry. And thanks for coming on the show, Peter and Tanya.
Thank you so much, Isaiah.
And that's it for this episode of Community Crypto. I'm your host, Isaiah Jackson, and every week we're building a global community with local crypto groups. So be sure to tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on CoinDesk TV. See you then.